lied to about what makes a man powerful. They told you it's money, status, muscle. But I'm here to expose the real secret, the one buried under centuries of shame, insecurity, and fragile male egos. This isn't about sex. This is about raw dominance in a world where most men are faking it. You want leverage, influence, the kind of loyalty that makes women fight to keep you? Then listen close, because what comes next will rewrite everything you think you know about power. Imagine this. Two men walk into a room. One's a CEO, the other looks average. But the CEO's wife can't take her eyes off the average guy. Why? Because he holds real power. The kind that doesn't sit on a balance sheet or hang from a gold Rolex. It's etched into his DNA. He's the man who understands that control isn't taken, it's given freely by those desperate to keep him. You think this is fantasy? Look around. The men ruling boards, empires, even history itself, they didn't conquer through brute force. They conquered through obsession, through becoming irreplaceable. Now here's the brutal truth they'll never teach you. Women don't crave providers. They crave experiences so electric, so addictive that every other man feels like a downgrade. And the man who can deliver that, he doesn't beg for loyalty, he's drowned in it. But this isn't about manipulation, it's about mastery. The same focus that builds fortunes, sculpts bodies, and wins wars, directed toward understanding pleasure like a strategist studies a battlefield. You're either the man who leaves a woman thinking that was nice, or the one who ruins her for anyone else. The choice is yours, but make no mistake, this isn't just about sex, it's about legacy. The bedroom is where boys get exposed and kings get crowned. Every second you skip this video, that's another man out there sharpening his edge. Another man learning to weaponize loyalty. Another man becoming unforgettable. So ask yourself, are you content being replaceable? Or are you ready to unlock the real cheat code to power? The one hidden in plain sight, waiting for men brave enough to claim it. The clock's ticking. Your future self is watching. Don't disappoint him. Let's start with a fundamental truth. Human beings are driven by desire. Not just physical desire, but the deep, often unspoken craving for transcendence. For moments that make us feel fully alive. And here's where most men get it wrong. They assume power is about dominance in the obvious ways. Money, status, physical strength. But real power, the kind that shapes destinies, is far more subtle. It's about understanding what moves people. And when it comes to women, there is no greater leverage than the ability to unlock pleasure. Think about it. What does a woman remember? Not the guy who bought her a drink, not the guy who flexed his car. She remembers the man who made her feel something she'd never felt before. The one who didn't just take, but gave. Who turned intimacy into an art form. That's the man who lingers in her mind, her dreams, her loyalties. That's the man who, whether he realizes it or not, holds power. Now let's dissect why this works on a psychological level. Pleasure isn't just a physical reaction, it's a neurological event. When you elicit intense pleasure in another person, you're literally rewiring their brain. Dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins. These chemicals don't just create pleasure, they create association. You become linked in her subconscious with reward. And the human brain is wired to seek out what rewards it. This isn't manipulation, it's biology. It's the same mechanism that makes us crave good food, thrilling experiences, or even addictive substances. But here, the drug is you. But this isn't just about sex, it's about mastery. And mastery requires discipline. The man who is skilled in pleasure isn't just good with his hands or his tongue. He's observant. He pays attention. He listens to her body, her reactions, the subtle cues most men ignore. That's why this skill separates the boys from the men. Any fool can chase his own satisfaction, but it takes a real man to derive his satisfaction from hers. And here's the philosophical layer. True power has always been about service. The greatest leaders, the most influential figures in history, didn't dominate by force alone. They understood what their people needed and they provided it. In the same way, the man who serves a woman's pleasure isn't submitting. He's strategically placing himself at the center of her world. Because when you are the source of something irreplaceable, you become irreplaceable. Now, let's talk about reciprocity. This isn't a one-way transaction. When you learn to give pleasure at this level, something else happens. You become more attuned to your own power. Confidence isn't something you fake, it's something you earn through competence. And competence in this arena changes how you carry yourself in every other. You walk differently, you speak differently, you command respect without demanding it. Because you know something most men don't? That the deepest form of strength is the ability to create joy in another person. But here's the critical shift. This isn't about control, it's about mutual elevation. The man who thinks pleasure is a tool for manipulation will always be small-minded. The real power comes when both people are elevated by the exchange. That's how you build loyalty. That's how you inspire devotion. Not through taking, but through giving so profoundly that what you receive in return is given freely, enthusiastically. So what's the takeaway? Simple. If you want to be powerful, stop chasing the superficial symbols of dominance. Master the art of pleasure, not just for her sake, but for yours. Because the man who can bring a woman to the heights of ecstasy isn't just a good lover. He's a man who understands the deepest truths of influence, connection, and human nature. Now, go practice with discipline, with intention, and watch how the world around you begins to change. There's a lie that's been sold to men for generations. The idea that strength is about taking what you want, that dominance means putting yourself first, that the alpha male is the one who demands service rather than providing it. This is not just wrong, it's catastrophically backwards. The truth is, selfishness is the hallmark of weakness, not power. The boy takes, the man gives. And this isn't some moralistic platitude, it's a fundamental law of human psychology, relationships, and yes, even dominance. Let's break this down. When you approach intimacy or life with a mindset of extraction, of what can I get, rather than what can I offer, you reveal your own insecurity. The man who is desperate to prove his worth is the one who rushes, who prioritizes his own pleasure, who sees a woman's body as a conquest rather than a collaboration. That's not confidence. That's fear masquerading as bravado. The truly powerful man doesn't need to prove anything because he knows his value isn't contingent on taking. His value is demonstrated in his ability to elevate. Now consider the psychology of reciprocity. Human beings are wired to respond to generosity, not just with gratitude, but with loyalty. When you give pleasure selflessly, when you devote yourself to a woman's satisfaction, something profound happens. She doesn't just feel good, she feels seen. And that creates a bond far deeper than physical attraction. You become more than just a man in her life. You become the man she trusts, the man she respects, the man she wants to please in return. This isn't manipulation, it's the natural order of genuine connection. The man who serves is the man who inspires devotion. But let's go deeper. Why does selfishness fail? Because it's short-sighted. The boy thinks only of the moment, his own release, his own validation. The man thinks in terms of legacy. He understands that the pleasure he gives today is an investment in the relationship's future. He knows that a woman who feels worshipped in the bedroom will stand by him outside of it. Not out of obligation, but because he's earned her allegiance. This is how you build something lasting. This is how you become irreplaceable. And here's the paradox. The more you give, the more you receive. But that can't be your motivation. If you're giving to get, you're still operating from selfishness, just in a more subtle form. The shift happens when you derive genuine satisfaction from her pleasure, when her ecstasy becomes your reward. That's the mark of a man who has transcended insecurity. That's the man who doesn't need to demand respect. He commands it effortlessly. This principle extends beyond the bedroom. The men who rise to the top in any field, business, leadership, art, are the ones who focus on adding value, not extracting it. They're the ones who ask, how can I solve this problem, rather than, what's in it for me? That's the mindset of the servant leader. The man who understands that true authority comes from being indispensable, not domineering. So how do you apply this? Start by reframing your approach. Intimacy isn't a transaction, it's a collaboration. Your goal shouldn't be to take, but to create an experience so profound that both of you are elevated by it. Pay attention. Learn her body, her responses, the things that make her gasp. And do it not because you expect something in return, but because mastery is its own reward. Here's the hard truth. Selfishness is easy. Any immature man can be but discipline. The discipline to prioritize her pleasure, to delay your own gratification, to see the bigger picture. That's what separates the men from the boys. And when you embrace that discipline, you'll find that the rewards far surpass the fleeting satisfaction of putting yourself first. So ask yourself, are you still operating from scarcity? From the fear that if you don't take, you'll lose? Or have you stepped into the abundance of a man who knows that the more he gives, the more he gains? The choice is yours, but choose wisely. Because the path of the selfish man leads only to emptiness. The path of the giver, that's where true power lies. Let me tell you something counterintuitive. In a world obsessed with visible displays of power, the most potent instrument of masculine influence isn't found in your wallet, your fists, or even between your legs. It's resting in your mouth right now. That unassuming muscle we use for speech and sustenance becomes, in the hands of a conscious man, the ultimate tool of connection, pleasure, and, yes, power. But not power as domination, power as creation. The power to build moments of transcendence that etch themselves into a woman's nervous system permanently. This isn't about technique, though mastery matters. It's about understand. E&G, that oral pleasure represents something far deeper in the female psyche than we've been led to believe. When a woman allows you to perform this most intimate act, she's not just granting physical access. She's offering psychological surrender. In that moment, she makes herself completely vulnerable, trusting you with both her pleasure and her dignity. The man who recognizes this sacred responsibility and rises to meet it doesn't just satisfy a physical need. He fulfills an emotional and spiritual craving for complete acceptance. Neurologically speaking, you're engaging with the most densely innervated area of her body, one directly wired to her emotional centers. Unlike male pleasure, which tends to be localized and goal-oriented, female pleasure is expansive, whole body, and deeply connected to self. And when you master this art, you're not just stimulating nerve endings, you're rewriting her relationship with her own sensuality. A woman who has experienced truly skillful oral connection walks differently through the world, shoulders back, head high, radiating a quiet confidence that satisfies a physical need. He fulfills an emotional and spiritual craving for complete acceptance. Neurologically speaking, you're engaging with the most densely innervated area of her body, one directly wired to her emotional centers. Unlike male pleasure, which tends to be localized and goal-oriented, female pleasure is expansive, whole body, and deeply connected to self. And when you master this art, you're not just stimulating nerve endings, you're rewriting her relationship with her own sensuality. A woman who has experienced truly skillful oral connection walks differently through the world, shoulders back, head high, radiating a quiet confidence that comes from knowing she's been thoroughly known and desired. But here's where most men fail catastrophically. They approach this act with either clinical detachment or performative aggression, both of which miss the point entirely. The magic happens in the marriage of reverence and hunger, of worship and conquest. You must be both pilgrim at a sacred site and explorer charting undiscovered territory. This dichotomy, the ability to hold opposing energies in tension, is the hallmark of mature masculinity in all areas of life. The psychological effects on you as the giver are equally transformative. To excel in this arena requires qualities that bleed into every other aspect of your being. Patience, attention to detail, emotional attunement, the ability to read subtle cues and adjust in real time. These are the same skills that make exceptional leaders, artists, and innovators. The discipline to remain fully present when every instinct urges you toward your own gratification is training for mastering any complex endeavor. Consider this. In ancient traditions, from Tantra to the Greek mysteries, oral connection was never just about pleasure. It was a ritual act, a means of energy exchange, a way to access higher states of consciousness. While we've largely lost this sacred understanding in modern times, the underlying truth remains. When performed with full presence and intention, this act becomes a meditation, a prayer made flesh. The man who approaches it as such discovers it becomes not just something he does to a woman, but something that transforms them both. The modern dating landscape makes this skill more valuable than ever. In an era of disposable connections and performative sexuality, the man who can deliver this level of focused attention becomes unforgettable. Not because of any particular trick or technique, but because in those moments he gives the rarest of gifts in our distracted age: complete, undivided presence. In a world of men chasing their own satisfaction, being the one who derives genuine joy from hers makes you stand out like a lighthouse in a sea of mediocrity. But make no mistake, this isn't about becoming some servile pleaser. True mastery means developing the discernment to recognize when your generosity is being valued versus exploited. The same confidence that allows you to give freely must also allow you to set boundaries when necessary. This balance, the ability to be both generous and self-respecting, is the sweet spot of masculine energy that women instinctively respond to. So, where does this leave you? With a simple but profound realization that what we dismiss as a mere sexual act is actually a masterclass in presence, attunement, and mutual transcendence. The tongue becomes merely the physical instrument through which deeper qualities manifest. Your ability to focus, to persevere, to derive joy from another's pleasure. These are the same qualities that create success in every other arena of life. The challenge is clear. Will you continue to approach this as just another item on the sexual checklist, or will you recognize it for what it truly is? One of the most potent tools for connection, influence, and personal growth that a man can master. The choice determines not just your sexual success, but the quality of your relationships and the depth of your character. So begin tonight, not with performance, but with presence. Not with expectation, but with curiosity. And watch as this simple act transforms not just your intimate life, but your entire understanding of what it means to be a powerful man. Let's examine a fundamental truth about human nature that most men never grasp: the direct relationship between a woman's pleasure and her psychological investment. This isn't manipulation, it's understanding the deep wiring of human bonding. When you become the architect of a woman's most powerful physical experiences, you're not just giving her orgasms. You're shaping her neurological pathways, her emotional associations, and ultimately, her loyalty. The science is clear. During intense pleasure, a woman's brain floods with oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins. These aren't just feel-good chemicals, they're the biochemical foundation of attachment. Oxytocin in particular has been called the bonding molecule for its role in creating feelings of trust and connection. What does this mean practically? That when you master the art of pleasure, you're not just a lover, You become neurologically linked to her most positive emotional states. This is why women will forgive flaws, overlook shortcomings, and defend men who've made them feel truly seen and satisfied in this most vulnerable arena. But let's go deep.